Good evening, it's meteorologist Michael Fecca. Welcome back to the 9 p.m. all-weather, all-streaming show that we do here every night during the workdays and on weekends. We stream it out to all of our streaming platforms, including Facebook Live and YouTube. So if you are joining us from either of those places, please feel free to leave us a comment or a question. Hopefully I'll be able to address them as I go through the forecast, but if not, I'll go through at the very end and see if I can address anything individually for you. So let's get started here with a look at our headlines. And topping our headlines for at least tonight is going to be those areas of fog. Similar to last night, we've already started to see some dense areas of fog form across portions of the tri-state, and that will likely expand overnight into early tomorrow morning. So again, take it easy. You're going to be out on your morning commute and you're in areas of reduced visibility. You want to make sure that you're using your fog lights and you're slowing down and just giving yourself a little extra time. Once that fog burns off, we'll be left with mostly cloudy skies and I think a mostly dry day. However, we are still tracking out that chance for more showers and rain to move in later in the afternoon on Monday, mostly overnight Monday into Tuesday morning. And then behind that system, we'll have high pressure building in, and that's going to bring us cooler and drier weather for the second half of next week, including Thanksgiving. So I'll break all of those details down for you, but let's get started with a look at that dense fog advisory. It encompasses the entirety of the tri-state and more, but everywhere here in yellow, that's where that dense fog advisory is already in effect, and it is going to remain in effect until 10 a.m. Central Time or 11 a.m. Eastern Time there. And looking at our current visibilities, we've already got fog pretty much everywhere. Around quarter a mile of visibility up towards Mount Carmel, 0 there in Fairfield, only around a half mile in Sturgis, and around 7 miles here in the Evansville area. So again, this is likely going to continue to expand or even just get more dense through the night. So that's why we wanted to make sure you guys are using a little bit more caution, especially through your early morning commutes. Looking at the graph fog forecast, it will take some time for it to dissipate, but by late morning into the very first part of the afternoon, I think that fog should finally clear out of here. But let's take a look at our current setup across the U.S. So we have high pressure in place overhead right now, and typically when you think of high pressure, you think of sunny skies, but that's just not what happened today. We ended up with that fog that we were expecting, but what the models weren't really picking up on was this inversion that we had in place. And then when you have that low level moisture trapped underneath in a temperature inversion, that creates this very persistent low level cloud cover that is very hard to get out of here. So we were stuck with that pretty much all day today. There were a few locations around the tri-state that saw some sun, but here in the Evansville metro area and pretty much right up and along both sides of the Ohio River, that cloud cover was persistent all day long. And unfortunately, it was because of that high pressure system kind of locking all that moisture closer to the surface. But with cloud cover in place, temperatures really haven't moved all that much. We're only sitting in the upper 40s right now, and where they actually cleared out, they cleared out of the clouds earlier in Fairfield, and they're likely still clear now, but that's why they're seeing that fog so dense, because their temperatures have dropped all the way into the upper 30s, which is around 10 degrees cooler than the rest of the tri-state. So a huge difference in temperature depending on if you saw clouds today or if you didn't. But here's a look at our next 12 hours. We're not tracking out any systems moving through overnight, but again, tracking out that patchy area or patchy areas of dense fog with temperatures dropping down into the upper 30s to right around 40 degrees. And that'll lead us into a very dreary start to our work week. Cloud cover, mostly dry during the day on Monday, but some showers moving in later in the afternoon and into the evening. Most of it falls overnight, and temperatures will top out at around 60 tomorrow. So here's a look at the future radar here. This model does want to bring in some light shower activity even early tomorrow morning, but I think it's just picking up on the fact that there is some fog out there. I don't really think that's actually shower activity. I think most of the showers move in generally after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then it doesn't really start to get going here widespread across the tri-state until late Monday night and into the overnight hours. And you could even have some pockets of heavier rain thrown in there as well, especially across western Kentucky. That will linger into Tuesday morning and eventually clear out of here gradually through Tuesday afternoon. I think the bulk of the rain will move out of here, but we still got a few lingering showers possible into Tuesday evening before we fully dry out into Wednesday. But here's a look at our future rainfall forecast. Again, we're picking up generally anywhere between 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch of rainfall. Some spots could get closer to an inch, especially with any heavier downpours that develop. But outside of the rain chances moving into Monday into Tuesday, we do dry out there through the middle of the work week. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday all looking like pretty good days, especially Thursday. Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, looks like the nicest day of the entire week. It looks dry, but on the chillier side. And then we're tracking out more rain chances. Once we get into next weekend and into the first week of December, it looks like we'll start to see a more active weather pattern set up once again, with multiple areas of low pressure possibly moving through during that first week. So more chances for rain, more chances for warm-ups and cool downs and everything in between. So that's what we're looking at for the first week of December. But through this next week, it should be pretty quiet once we get out of Tuesday. Thanksgiving Day, mostly sunny skies, chilly temperatures down in the lower 40s, so perfect to warm up with a nice warm meal with family and friends. So hopefully you'll have plans to do that on Thanksgiving. But looking at our 7-day temperature trend, we'll remain cool there. Even into Saturday, temperatures will only be topping out in the lower 40s. But I do want to bring your attention here to those morning lows. Waking up Thursday morning, temperatures are going to be down in the upper 20s. So very, very chilly. And then waking up Friday morning, Black Friday. I don't know if anyone still likes to camp out at storefronts and like sleep out there overnight, but when I was a kid, that was a huge thing. If you're gonna be planning on doing that, make sure you layer up, because 20 degrees is very cold, and you will definitely feel that if you're gonna be outside and not layered up. But then we do start to gradually warm back up with some showers moving in for next weekend, and that'll kind of lead us into that more active weather pattern for the following week. And another thing that kind of leads me to believe we're entering a little bit more of an active weather pattern is because of how our temperature trends are shaping up through the next 6 to 10 days. You'll notice here that we have warmer air setting up just to our southeast, and then we've got colder air back to our northwest. That typically forms what we call a baroclinic zone, which is a horizontal temperature gradient, a difference in temperature across a horizontal space. So you can see here, temperatures get colder the farther northwest you go, and warmer the farther southeast you go. And that temperature gradient sets up a really nice area for areas of low pressure to build upon and move through. So when I see this, that makes me think we're going to have some nice areas of low pressure that are going to slide right in between the cooler air to the northwest and the warmer air to the southeast. And looking at our precipitation outlook, it kind of agrees with that. We're looking at above average precipitation, not only just for us here in the Ohio River Valley, but for much of the Midwest and for much of the United States in general. It looks like we're all going to be getting a little bit more active here. Here's a look at our hazards outlook for the next 8 to 14 days. We'll see here that we are outlooked for that potential for some heavier rainfall, and it looks like that's going to be associated with that potential system or multiple systems for the first week of December. And you'll also notice getting a little bit of snowier the farther north you go. Now they're getting outlooked for some heavy snowfall across the Great Lakes region and into portions of New England through that first week of December. So not quite for us here yet, but we are looking at a more active weather pattern. So let me show you what that looks like. Starting things out here on Saturday, we'll have a warm front begin to lift to our north through Saturday morning. And if you remember, those temperatures waking up Saturday morning likely going to be in the 20s. So if this warm front were able to push up in enough moisture, we may even see a little bit of snow mixing with a little bit of rain before we see a transition over to all rain here. But this model, again, a week out, we can't take this verbatim by any means, but I'm just kind of pointing out what I'm seeing here. But it does look like it wants to keep Saturday mostly dry for us. It really wants to bring in that wet, warm, moist air mass in from the south, and that's going to warm those temperatures back up to where we would see only rainfall as the low passed overhead. Sunday, Monday, and into Tuesday, we'll still have that chance for a few showers. So you'll notice it's just a very active start to December. Not as cold as a lot of those social media posts that were going around were saying. So that's why we always tell you guys not to freak out when you see, big snowfall maps, big cold blasts weeks in advance from some random account on Facebook. So that's why we want you guys to make sure wherever you're getting your information, you're getting it from a trusted source. But here's a look at your next 7 days. So we're tracking out that rain Monday into Tuesday, looking like just mostly rainfall, and a lot of that falls overnight into early Tuesday morning. High pressure builds back in Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday. Thursday, Thanksgiving, looking fantastic. Sunny skies, temps in the lower 40s. Pretty chilly though as you're waking up in the morning, down into the 20s through Friday. And then once we get into next weekend, that's where we'll see those chances for rain increase once again, with that more active weather pattern taking shape through the first week of December. So let me go ahead and see what you guys are saying in the comments here. Zach is asking, while a few thunderstorms can't be ruled out in early December for Evansville, is it expected to be primarily rain? It is a little bit too far out in the forecasting range. Again, it's kind of at the very end of this 7-day period and even beyond that. So you can't really get too detailed with the forecast because it is just going to change. As of right now, we're not seeing anything that's like a severe weather threat. It does just look mostly like rainfall, but again, a whole lot can change in a week. So, you want to stay tuned, of course, come back for updates. And if we do start to see something that looks suspicious, of course, we'll let you know and we'll throw an alert on there. But as of right now, not anything to worry about. It just looks pretty rainy and wet through that first week of December. Cheyenne says, good evening. Good evening, Darlene. She hopes everyone has a great Thanksgiving week. Thank you, and I hope you do too. And it says, Mary says, hi from Blue Ridge Parkway. Hi to you too. We're happy you're here. Thanks for joining us on our weather show. But that's all I've got for our forecast here. So I'm going to hop off the live stream. I'll send you guys over to 14 News at 10 for all the latest news and weather headlines. Of course, we'll go on after Sunday Night Football, so hopefully that wraps up sooner rather than later. But until then, everybody stay safe and have a great rest of your night.